sunny.
That's why I moved to Colorado was for all that sun.
I know having over 300 days of sunshine a year is amazing, especially coming from Massachusetts and New York, where you often have a lot more gloom and doom.
I came from Wisconsin. I get it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we sure do.
This morning it was really cloudy and windy when I first got moving, but it's all blue skies now. So hopefully the snow holds off. I've just started the recorder. Um, this is Mac with Veterans Achieve Business Systems. Gina, we started our conversation and um, we kind of connected because of a different veterans group, and that and I've really been excited for this because I think that how I perceive you, and that is you are a prime example of who we're trying to communicate with. And that's the veteran or the jacket wearer that had a military career, and your career kind of changed in the middle. I'm going to let you talk about that. But a big part of what I would like to gain out of this today is the story, and that, how did a girl that went to college for a short period of time, decided she was going to fix trucks or other mechanical stuff, and then you became an intelligence spy. That, thanks for coming and doing this. I really appreciate it. I know that you're traveling and you're on your way to Utah, so we'll we'll uh, we'll get going, and I'm going to let you dive in, and I'm sure everybody's going to have some questions for you.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone, coming to the Zoom and listening to my story and those who listen to this after. I am very passionate about, my past and what I've done, that's translating into what I'm working on now, my future as a veteran. So yeah, I mean, it's been quite the journey. Uh, and I've learned a lot along the way. And I believe that I definitely have a lot to offer to other veterans for sure. Um, yeah, so let's see. So my journey pretty much started New York and then Massachusetts, where I spent the majority of my life before joining the military. Went to college for a year, like Max said, for exercise science. I've done so many different things from started cleaning, but businesses' offices at a very young age, worked at a gym, worked on a farm, picking and packing corn, and then went to college for a year for exercise science. Decided that wasn't really for me, but I needed to find something, a higher purpose that I needed to fulfill. So I actually ended up joining the military, joined the Air Force. And like Max said, yeah, I waited actually 4 months to get in to be a mechanic, so a wheeled mechanic. Um, and that had its challenges, but I also loved it. So did some combat tours within that. It was very interesting being one of the few females in a male-dominated space, if you will. But it really pushed me to work really hard to meet and surpass, these other gentlemen that were mechanics, because it there was a stigma, of course, and especially working with the Army. I was embedded with the Army and other branches my whole career. But being with the Army, there was some, higher ranking individuals that didn't believe females should be mechanics. So that was a challenge in itself, but overcame it nonetheless. So that was pretty cool. And then I was in the Air Force, embedded with multiple different special forces units. That was really when I was truly happy and felt fulfilled that I joined the military, was because it wasn't just regular Air Force. I was something called JET, which is Joint Expeditionary Task Force. And so I was embedded with all these special forces units, And that really truly made me feel like I was serving a higher purpose. Like it's one thing to serve, and join. That's amazing for all the young men and women that raise their hand. It's a very selfless thing to do. And then to be accepted into some of those elite units was really awesome. So that was really, really cool. And then I retrained, like Max said, after being a mechanic for so long, realized it wasn't gonna be the income that I desired on the outside eventually. So I retrained in Intel. I was an operations intelligence analyst for a while, which was really cool. I did a lot of fun things, stateside and downrange. I was an IMIC, so that's an instructor mission intelligence coordinator working with the RPAs, so the drones. And that was really neat. So I've been all over the United States, a whole bunch of different bases, overseas, was never stationed overseas in some of those cool places like you hear. It was all Afghanistan, Iraq, I was in Kuwait, all of the dirty places. I say that because it was dirt, not the pretty landscape or whatever, but serving was something that I'm very grateful that I had the capability and ability to do because some people want to join and they can't even get accepted. So yeah.
It's funny you say that, Gina, because I have said for most of the time after I got out of the Marine Corps is when we went in somewhere between 18 and 22, depending on if it was right out of high school or after college, you don't really get a choice of what you do or where you go. For me, I thought, I was being a real smart kid. When I signed up, I was thinking about a career afterwards, and I thought I would be a jet mechanic. That that this would give me good income forever, and so I got a guarantee for aviation, which turned into me loading bombs on planes. Uh, there
Sounds
weren't
about
other jobs for that when I was done. But when you think about it, and I think we all want to know how that transition, obviously, we all have our own perspective of what intelligence is. We've seen the Costner movies, we've seen the James Bond movies and stuff like that. But what did both those careers in the service, how did they get you here?
Yeah, so it's been a wild journey to say the least. So while I was in the military, actually, I had a slight arrhythmia, nothing major, that started, was monitoring it. It did eventually, get a little bit more serious. I went in and had something called an ablation done, minor procedure, um, had some post-procedure complications. The surgeon said he was only able to ablate for a few seconds because if he had done it any longer, it was so close to my AV node where he had to do it that there was potential he could have nicked my AV node and I would have had to get a pacemaker. Well, fast forward, post-procedure complications. I went from one base to another, higher altitude, and it got slightly worse. And so that's what ended up, then I ended up having to get a pacemaker. So I did my 12 years in the military. I would have done much longer, but hey, you just take life and roll with it, right? Because it's our life and our plan and our path is not up to us. So my path just took me down a different route, and I'm very grateful that it did, and that I got out when I did, and that I was able to serve those 12 years. And the transition, though, was very hard for me. It was because I got out in New Mexico and I moved to Colorado. I was never stationed here, but I moved here, and they don't really set you up for success before you separate. And I joined when I was 20. I got out when I was 32. And that's a huge period of your life where you're growing as a young adult. and they don't really set you up for transitioning back into civilian life. Now, like when I was deployed, one of my deployments, we did convoy duty and we were in Germany for a couple weeks to get reintegrated back into society from being downrange to just being a normal human again, if you will. And that was very helpful because we were doing therapy classes every day, every morning. And then in the evenings, we had free time. So it was that, that shift, which was really, really nice. Now, when I got out of the military, it wasn't like that at all. It was pretty much, yep, one day you're wearing the uniform, the next day you're not. And I felt so lost. So my transition process, like I've seen a lot of other veterans, was very tough. It was challenging, and you go from this state of having the camaraderie and your brothers and sisters right there to lean on, and they've become your true family. Like I've learned true family doesn't need to be blood family at all. And that's been pretty much the majority of my life. Really kind of hit in about 2015 when my mom passed away, and that's when I really leaned into the other veterans for support. And so, having gotten out a handful of years later, I was just kind of in this state of limbo. Like, what is my purpose here? What am I doing? And so I went to nursing school because I have a true passion for helping people. And a lot of veterans get out and go into either nursing or become a first responder or a police officer, any type of those fields, because it's like, again, a selfless service. And so I think that's why a lot of veterans tend to gravitate towards those types of careers. And so I went to nursing school, and COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I was in clinicals, they were put on pause. And then when they slowly started to reopen them, they required the vaccination. And I had a pacemaker. I already had a prior heart condition. So I told myself I would not get the vaccination. Well, they wouldn't approve a waiver, and I took that as another sign that this isn't my path. I'm just being diverted into something else that I'm meant to be. And that's when I took the deep dive into real estate investing. And the reason I chose that was because when I was in the military, I did a lot of digging into real estate and how to utilize the VA, the GI Bill also with the VA loan. So I went first with the GI Bill with the nursing. That didn't pan out. And then I was like, well, I have these other benefits over here. So I'm gonna dig into my VA loan. So that's what I had done when I was still active. I had a house custom built, lived in it, turned it into a rental property. I had moved to another base and kind of repeated that. So when I was in New Mexico, I had another house custom built, lived in it, and then rented it out. Still have that rental property. And it's just a beautiful model. So I knew there was another side to being an investor in real estate that I was not privy to besides just a house and all that. So I took a deep dive into it further, and just found other communities within real estate to lean on, and they kind of became more of like my support system. And so that transition process was really tough, and I had to find my own way, but I think that's also what makes you stronger is to just figure it out. I mean, when you're in the military, that's what you do, you have to be able to transition, you have to be flexible. And I took those skills from being in the military to just figure it out on the outside. So it took that leap of faith.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because you talking about not seeing the resources as you were transitioning is a big part of why we've formed this uh, group, this mastermind. Um, I feel the same way. Now, everybody's war is unique, and that when we go in, um, Sorry. And whether I was too naive or there just were not the resources after Vietnam, very controversial war for the whole country. Um, I didn't see the mentoring or the educational. As I've come to say, it was either because I was um, too hard-headed or too dumb to quit. I just kept going along. And when I started putting the idea together for this group, it was how do we help those that are in that process of transitioning? It doesn't mean they just got out. I have a colonel that works at the Pentagon. He's done 25 years and he's looking at his 30-year exit strategy, which I love that, people are looking forward and not just for the folks here, but for anybody listening to this on the YouTube channel. Um, I think that's what we're trying to gain out of this is the stories. How do we get from point A to point B? Know that there is a community. Maybe we're not all sleeping in the same squad bay, but there is a community of support out there. We all have unique stories and different branches. How did you get from point A to B? You talk about going into the entrepreneur stuff and the investing. We're seeing a lot of Facebook memes, and a lot of people are trying to teach veterans how to get into multifamily units. Um, I know that you're part of a pretty large investor group, uh,
Mhm.
and you have those types of contacts. You're a young lady. How do people accept you? How did you get the education so that people do accept you?
Yeah, so it's been it's been quite a challenge, I will say. But really just taking the learned lessons along the way and knowing that I have the ability to help so many other veterans and non-veterans too, just from the skills and what I've learned throughout the years. And if I am not out there conveying, my experiences, my setbacks, everything else, then I'm really doing those people a disservice because they could learn so much from me. And the other part of it is if I don't share that, then they're going to have to go through, stumble upon all of those speed bumps that I did. And meanwhile, I could help them start where I'm at now and not have to go through all of those. So really just leaning onto my peers, mentors like you, Mac, for, guidance and support, because that transition, like I said, it was very hard. I went into the entrepreneurial world and even had some setbacks there too, thinking, this isn't for me. I have to go back to a W-2. So I did for a little while. And I did that for 6 months. And I thought that's what I had to do. And it didn't work out because it's really hard when you are a veteran and you get out to go back and work for somebody and help them build their business when your true purpose isn't fulfilled. And that's what my struggle was. Like when you serve, that's at the highest level, the most selfless thing you can do. And I stepped into the roofing world as a sales assistant. And so doing that, I felt I wasn't fulfilling a true purpose. I wasn't helping veterans doing that. The owner of the company was a veteran, and that's one of the reasons why I gravitated towards him. However, he wasn't one that wanted to be known as a veteran-owned business. And that was hard for me because I take so much pride in what me, my past, and what have you. And that was something that he didn't want to make public. And so we parted ways and I stepped back, into the entrepreneurial world. and realized, that there's so much more out there that if I just push through the hard times as an entrepreneur and continue to build, I can truly help so many people. I just have to not give up. And I have kind of wrapped my head around the idea of not giving up and pushing through by the days when I slack, I guess. How many lives am I affecting? So the same thing with that mentality downrange. The days where your head's not on a swivel, where you're not cognizant and aware of your surroundings, when you're not on your A game, like what could potentially happen? I mean, obviously it's not at the same, caliber, but as an analogy, it's like every day be on your A game. And if you truly want to make an impact, on veterans and people in the world, then you have to maintain that. And so that's what's really got me to push through those hard times because there have been many days since I had been out of the military, and it's been a while. I've done a lot of work, like self care and a lot of just internal and external, both like with my spiritual, mental, physical health, to get to a really good place where I'm not having those major setbacks anymore. But it has been tough. It has been tough for sure. But yeah, just fulfilling that sense of purpose and leaning on mentors and utilizing all of the lessons I've learned. And that's really what's given me the drive. And I think a lot of people just have seen how hard of a worker I am and my work ethic and how much I care about what I do and my passion. And that has given them and shown the respect.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, because I've always talked about that I sold boxes, and people thought I was selling cardboard. But the package, I've always stated that I don't care what's in the box. I want it to be a top shelf product, and I want it to be competitive with other people, the other top products out there. But if people buy whatever it is, if it's a hard good or a soft good or a course or guidance, that if the supply chain breaks anywhere within it, from the person producing the product to the person using the product and the value, that everybody loses. And we all know there's people out there, it's all about them. And that I kind of refer to it as the 90-10 rule. That 90% of everybody we meet are honest and sincere. They care about what they're doing, but they care about what you're doing. There's 10% that just want to sell you something. If you don't buy, they'll never talk to you again. Um, Being in the high finance area, and that's where I put you with the investment. I went to the Aspire group with you, and that was a learning experience. It actually led into some other stuff that we're, you know, dealing with in a roundabout way right now. How would you guide people to use their hidden assets? The first thing with a veteran, we think of a VA loan, but there's a lot of other uh, advantages to having served. How would you guide people if they were going to start whatever the boxes that they have? I tell people put a veteran's ribbon on it, um, to get from point A. And maybe before they get out, so that it's kind of like that colonel that I talked about. He's thinking 5 years ahead. How do you discuss this with people that you meet?
Absolutely. And this is I'm glad you asked this question because it is really what's pushed me to do what I'm doing today with some veteran support stuff. But really, truly, to these vets, same exact thing. Before they get out, before they separate, they step into the civilian sector, is to really, truly have the next step of their life set up and have it align with what their purpose is. And that will, I think, eliminate a lot of like the heartache and pain and just the mental back and forth, like what am I doing? Self-doubt, all of those things. But really, truly figuring out like, okay, like what are you passionate about? What is your higher purpose when you get out? What is it that you want to do? How can you continue to impact and kind of just like figure that out? And if it's stepping into another job, most people are meant to step into another job, not be in the entrepreneur space. It really is a specific type of person, that is good for that. However, I do believe a lot of veterans are operating at their highest ability when they do form their own business or step into that space because they can truly serve in a different way, whatever that way is. They're not put in a box. They're not building somebody else's business. They're, selfless service and it's their own. And so I think that a lot of veterans, really need to sit down and define what it is, the impact they want to make before they get out. And also to delve into, like you said, like all of the resources that we have as veterans and to be able to have a good mentor, lean on people that have already experienced it, that's huge. Having, that support system. So identify those people who are going to be part of your support system before you get out. Also, just really doing a deep dive because nobody's going to truly care about you and your future and your success as much as you. So you truly need to pour into yourself, whatever that looks like, whether that's self-care, your physical, because a lot of veterans get out too of the service and, they're not as physically fit anymore because you're not as regimented or, but, how you keep your room is how you live your life. So as long as veterans come out of the service and don't lose that, then they can carry on with the skills that they've learned while they were in and apply that to a business, continue with their life and the business and the relationships that they continue to form. But really doing a deep dive into what is out there for veterans, like what support is there, what services are there. And, I really leaned into the real estate stuff because there are just so many benefits that you can utilize. I mean, with programs, especially with entrepreneurs starting their own business, like veteran owned, entrepreneur, especially women owned entrepreneur, small businesses, grants, all types of things. So leaning into, people like you, Mac, that have all this experience and other veterans who have served and have utilized these programs. But really, in your local area, figuring out, like here in Colorado Springs, there's Mount Carmel. So it's a Veterans Service Support Center. And figuring out like where that is for where they live. And as soon as, if not, I would say before they get out, being tapped into that community and figuring out how they can support and help. And that definitely allows you to still have that camaraderie type feeling on the outside. So you don't feel like you're floating on an island, if you will.
No, it's interesting. And Mount Carmel is definitely one of the resources. Um, I've always thought groups were a dime a dozen. Everybody wants you to join and then give them your money. Not all of them provide value for what you're getting in, and you can go down the wrong path by getting associated with the wrong people. Um, our group is part of Achieve Systems. Um, I looked at them for a year. Yeah, I'm a skeptic. And that is that do they want me to show up and buy somebody a beer and pay dues, or are they going to give me something that I can use? Um, and when I reviewed Achieve Systems, I saw that they were a global platform. Um, I like the fact, and even the group we have here today, none of us do the same thing. And that You're a vet, I'm a vet, Steve's a vet. Um, Michelle has a system working with many, many businesses on developing their web page so that they're presentable. I guess that's what we'd say, right, Michelle? Sally teaches about limiting beliefs. Darlene does medical stuff uh, that when I got my results back, my doctor didn't even draw my blood. He said, "This is the best report I've ever seen." And he said, "Who did this?" And uh, and I've got a soft spot for Sonia because she has developed her passion because her uncle served, not that she served herself. And I think as a,
I did briefly. I was in the Air Force briefly.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was in
Right.
basic training.
Oh,
Okay, so that's the interesting part. Something gets instilled in us, and that whether it's patriotism or I can be more than like the army, be all that you can be. Um, and that I love that fact. Tell me about the what you can offer tied into your groups. I know what Veterans Ventures is one of your groups, and then your new group,
connectorships.
Connectorship. Yeah. Tell me about those and what value is a jacket wearer going to get by connecting with you so that you can see how they fit into these different groups?
Yeah, absolutely. So I formed several small businesses since I've been out. The one that I'm now the most focused on, and so glad that I went this route actually after kind of questioning back and forth and not pulling the trigger right away and what have you. But I formed connectorships because I truly believe that the power of human connection is a beautiful thing. And I learned that by getting out of the military and, having that sense of loss of camaraderie and just having those powerful connections with like-minded people, how it can really truly make or break you. And I form connectorships because, well, I'm in the real estate sector, but just by having powerful conversations with people, figuring out like, okay, well, what do you have and what do you need in life or in business? And those are the two most powerful questions I've come to realize because if I want to truly help as many people as I can, it's not a one-way conversation, a win-win. Like I truly feel like if you branch out and within one conversation, what do you have? What do you need? Well, I spoke to one person. I now know what you have and what you need. I go and have a conversation with another person, figure out what they have and what they need. And by utilizing this model, it's able to connect people in all different walks of life, all over the world and help them by basically bridging those gaps to success within their business. And so, in my mind, it's that trifecta, right? It's not a win-win, it's a win-win-win. And so that forms a triangle, and a triangle is the strongest shape that there is. So I truly believe with that mentality, if everybody has that mentality of, it's not just a one-sided or even two-sided, it's a win-win. If it's a win-win-win, that's how you can branch out and help as many people as possible. So within connectorships, it's not just real estate, it's really anything. And I've had so many powerful conversations. For instance, I had a conversation with a gentleman the other day who didn't serve, but he was an army brat. His whole family did serve, and he's passionate about, veteran support in whatever way possible. And we connected on accident, nothing to do with veterans. I thought he was a private money lender and he wasn't. And I also thought his name was Carlos and it's Eric. And so, but it was amazing because we got on the phone and through just having such a good, deep connection, a good conversation, come to find out he's passionate about veteran stuff. So we had an hour and a half long conversation, decided this is something we want to run with. He was looking into the HUD-VASH program, which is a government funded program to house veterans. And me being the veteran and having access to other programs, we were like, let's collaborate. We got on one more call with one other individual who, again, I thought he was bringing a lender in, and so did he. Well, this individual actually has 30 co-living properties, and he has one property right now that is vacant, and it's a 10-bedroom home with 3 bathrooms. And so we were like, this is a perfect start. So Eric, the one individual, has the access to like the HUD-VASH program. I have access to like veterans and other programs and within the real estate stuff, finding the properties. And then this other gentleman, he has access to basically underwriting the properties, finding, other houses in his area, and already has one where we can do a test model. So we're doing a test model on this, and this is happening right now. And we got on that last conversation that was a week ago. So yesterday was our second phone call with the three of us, and we're taking it and we're running with it. And so there's that aspect of being able to help veterans just by making those connections, and in so many other ways too. People that are passionate about starting a new business and don't know how to get started. And so I'm doing like the business development stuff and so many different facets within connectorships, but it really truly is just having those conversations, asking the questions, figuring out how to help people in bridging the gaps to success and all growing and scaling together, really.
Um, I I love that, because for all of us, we all met because we showed up somewhere. I always tease you. I met you on the internet. You showed up at a hotel. Uh,
Yeah.
so, but
It
uh,
was a funny beginning.
you know, Sally and I met 3 years ago. She was gone for a while, and that she's back now. But she introduced me to Stephen, and then I met his wife, and that you have to open the door before people can walk in, and um, I love the fact that we're working on this community, and you have those other communities. Um, do you think that there's a way for people? Well, I know that that there's a way that people can reach out to you, and we put it in the original announcement. We'll do that with the recording.
Yeah.
What would people expect if they contacted you? How would you start the process?
Yeah, so I would have initial call with them. It'll be like a 30-minute kind of discovery call and figuring out exactly that. Like, where are you at? Are you an entrepreneur first? Do you want to be? Are you a veteran? Just identifying who they are and kind of their vision. Like, where are you trying to get to? And that's basically somebody who's hasn't started with anything yet, kind of lost, maybe somebody that's looking to separate the military soon, step into the civilian world, which I do believe that I would love to connect with people before they separate, because that would be much more beneficial than after they're out and spinning their wheels. Or somebody that has started a business and they're kind of stuck. But that discovery call will determine where are you stuck? Why are you stuck? Again, what do you have? What do you need? And then just kind of drawing an outline of next steps. So really business development and personal growth as well, because they truly tie into each other. But the first step would be that discovery call and just identifying those things and figuring out, okay, like maybe that's all they need is just that one call to gain clarity and figure out. And I've had this happen quite a few times with just having a very short conversation with people. It's like a light bulb, goes off and they're like, I didn't even think of that. And they're on a completely different trajectory 20 minutes later. into our conversation, which is, it's a beautiful thing. And some people, need more calls and more time and what have more support, and that's great too. But the first step would be really identifying your vision and where you're at right now and your timeline of where you want to be in however, in even like a month to 6 months to a year, and identifying those timelines and those goals, those milestones, and figuring out like how much support you need. Do you just need an accountability partner? Do you need systems in your business? Because within my network of individuals, if it's something out of my scope, I have somebody for it. So again, just making that connection. And that's why I named it Connectorships, is because having the conversations, you connect and build a partnership. So within that is Connectorship. So really that 30-minute discovery call, and I would love to get on with anybody.
I think that, that comes back to what you talked about earlier, is that you tried different things in your early adulthood, and that, going to college, going to the military, being the mechanic, being in intelligence, doing the nursing afterwards, and everything kept leading you back to this jacket that you're wearing now. And I love that you've taken those steps. So, I think in my generation and before, you would go to work for the steel mill or DuPont or whoever, and you were there for 45 years, and then you were out. And I think the world has changed, that we all get to meet people in a different fashion, and we all have our own personal mission statement. And I love the one that you're wearing, because people need guidance, and they need to see it from different generations. And um, I really appreciate you coming on today. I know you're traveling, and
Uh,
uh,
Thank you for having me. This has been great. It's been exhilarating being able to share my travels and my journey. So
yeah. Does anybody else have any questions for Gina while we're still on? I know that she's got to go jump onto a little plane to fly over the mountains.
I
Sonia?
have a question.
yeah.
Um, you mentioned when you got out and one day you're wearing the uniform and now you're not. You had your community and now you don't. Who did you surround yourself with to help you get through those days that was tough? What support system did you put in place?
Yeah,
Who?
that's an amazing question, actually, because I didn't really know why I was drawn to Colorado Springs when I got out of the military, because I was in New Mexico. Um, And I thought it was because of a nursing program that was here. But it's funny because I traveled throughout Colorado while I was still in the military, and I went to took 2 weeks, went to 10 different places. And the one place that I thought in Colorado, I fell in love with the state, but the one place I thought I would not move to was Colorado Springs. Like for whatever reason, I was just like, no. And that's where I ended up. And I thought it was because of the nursing program, but come to find out, there are several different military installations here, Army and Air Force, and you've got Space Force now. Um, but it's a very heavy military town. So subconsciously, I believe I moved here to still be engulfed in that type of environment. However, I did first turn to Mount Carmel, and at the time, they did have groups for veterans that were basically support groups a few times a week. And I was going to those, and it was very helpful. Well, they did away with those. And that was extremely hard. And they, to my knowledge, they may have now. It's been some time since I went back and checked to see if they started them back up. But while I was like heavily involved in those groups, those support groups showing up and really feeling like I had that again, they switched it to military families and spouses and stuff like that, which I think is beautiful. But the ones that really need it are the ones that are single that don't have a family to lean on, especially when you don't have other vets, right around you. Um, and so that was really tough. And so really just leaning into a lot of the veterans that I served with, because even still here in Colorado Springs, I don't feel like that there is that true military community. But leaning into like Achieve has been amazing. Connecting with Mac has been amazing. And really Mac has connected me with a lot of vets and I'm grateful for that for sure. And so that's been super helpful. So, the fact that what you, Sonia, and Mac are doing together with the military support stuff, veteran support stuff, I think that's beautiful. Um, I think if we can maybe even expand further to Colorado Springs a little bit more, that would be awesome too. Because I do feel like there's a need for it here, especially because I'm
Need to find somebody in Colorado Springs that'll step up and help us, Gina.
yeah,
Yeah. Someone
absolutely.
on this call, maybe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there are, I believe, a handful of others that are vets in Colorado Springs too, right? That we could start maybe
Yeah.
doing, like
Scott
a weekly.
Bell and
Yeah.
what's his name? The Santa Claus voice. Carl Front.
Oh,
Did you know he
I
does the
just
Santa Claus
recently met him.
voice?
Yeah.
For
But
when
that,
he
that's what's been so cool about this group is that um I think sometimes people get the perspective of SEAL Team 6 are veterans, but those of us that did other things, we were chefs, we were general staff, we were warehouse workers, that we all have something in common, and that is the group that we were with.
Yeah.
Uh, some of the funny things and that happen is that we all know that the Marine Corps was the best outfit, but
Debatable.
people will say, other branches of the service will be giving a hard time to people and said, "Don't you guys like each other?" Says, "Oh no, that's why we give each other a hard time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't waste our time, talking to them." But we've met so many people, and the offshoots. It's not even the people that serve directly themselves.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Maybe their parents, a brother. In Sonia's case, an uncle
Yep.
that has been gone for about 50 years now, huh, Sonia?
Yeah,
And
over
but
50.
his relation or your relationship with him is that strong that you're dedicating your life to this purpose, and we're all trying to see what can we offer, and that I know that Steve deals with conflict management. I, I'm one of the old guys in most rooms, and uh, there's things that we have seen because we've lived life that we should be able to. Sorry, so we should be able to gain a certain amount of wisdom and being willing to share it. We all have different stories. And Gina, I love your story. I want to thank you. I'm going to let you go and I'm going to end this. Um, I will have this up on the YouTube channel here in the next couple days.
Okay.
Just a note, the next 2 weeks we are going on vacation because of Christmas and New Year's. We'll start again in January. The YouTube recordings are showing up on the Achieve Systems YouTube channel. And soon there will be a Veterans Achieve Business Systems channel. The Veterans Achieve Business Systems.com website is up. We're starting to post the previous speakers that we've had. on this group. And hopefully there's some people that have not spoken yet. Michelle, Stephen,
Mhm.
Arlene, but we'd love to see you guys come back. We're booking for February and would love to have a one-to-one Zoom with you so we can talk about what you can talk about. And that I'm excited for this whole process. And if you know of other people that should be attending or other people that have something to offer, um, I tend to be pretty blunt and direct. I vet people in my own way, and that I'm only looking for people that can be honest and sincere with the group. So, any last comments?
Thank you for having
I'd
me.
like
Sorry, go ahead, Sonia.
Absolutely. Travel safe. I'm going to stop the recorder. Travel safe.